Hey, what's going on everyone? This is YoeYoursTruly back with another video, and today we're going to be trying to go in depth on Twinblast's new kit and Predecessor. They just announced this blog post where essentially they pretty much announced all the changes they're going to be bringing on Tuesday, of course, with Twinblast entering the fray of the Predecessor hero roster, and we see all these like juicy details on all his stats and whatnot. And they actually also released this kind of ability overview video where they actually kind of talk a little bit about generally what he does. You guys got to see some gameplay of that, so I'm going to assume that you guys have seen this overview video, because what we're going to be trying to do in this video is we're going to be trying to go really kind of more in depth on some like the implications for his changes and what exactly is going to be his better kind of builds going into the Tuesday patch. But without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. The only notable changes, outside Twinblast, the only notable changes I would say coming in the new patch is they said they're gonna do improved shadow moderation, and that they're gonna essentially gonna be like using the AI tool to actually do that. So you guys probably seen those memes of like AI starting to like pop up everywhere, and Predecessor is a game that is obviously gonna take advantage of some of the kind of developments with AI tools recently. So it kind of sounds cool that they're using this tool to kind of better moderate in-game messages, because sometimes I do see those kind of more nasty kind of messages going on in game. So it's good to hear that there's going to be an AI tool that can automatically detect that and report that, because obviously there's only so much a team can do when you have like hundreds of those kind of like messages or reports coming in, where you can just have an AI tool that can automatically flag and kind of take appropriate action. So it's going to be really kind of cool to see going on Tuesday exactly how better the chat is going to be cleaned up with this AI tool implemented. Other than that, it sounds like they are making sound improvements, so kind of better audio kind of clarity, some like just audio kind of improvements across the board. So it's gonna be one of those things that probably won't be like obvious at first, but it's gonna be one of those nice quality of life kind of stuff over time when we have these better audio sounds. But besides that, there's just some balance changes. I think Kira's the one that was changed the most. I think they're trying to tackle her down just because she is kind of like one of the strongest ADCs right now. So kind of good timing. They're kind of taking her down a little bit to give some Twinblast more time to shine on the Tuesday patch. Oh yeah, let's jump straight into Twinblast's new kit. Essentially, he has a Gunslinger passive where essentially his next two base attacks within 5 seconds benefit from 40% increased total attack speed, and so like the interesting thing is like the very wording they're using, because usually when you're getting attack speed from Iron, it's like you have 100% attack speed at base, and then let's say you got Iron with 30% attack speed. So like the 30% attack speed is additive, so it'll be like you go from 100% attack speed to 130 attack speed, right? But with the wording that they're doing for this Gunslinger passive, it says 40% increased total attack speed. So it's not 40% attack speed you gain, it's 40% increased total attack speed. So this is obviously something I'm going to play around a little bit once we actually get our hands on him on Tuesday. But the wording of this sounds like it's multiplicative, which means that let's say you have a Twinblast with 200% attack speed. Usually additive, when you get 40% additive attack speed, that's 200 to 240 attack speed. What this 40% increased total attack speed means that it's going to multiply that 200%. So instead of being a 240 attack speed, since it's a 40% increased total attack speed, it's going to be changed to 280 attack speed. So if it's the latter, where it's multiplication when you get like total attack speed, that's a pretty big deal, because this means that it's a passive that actually scales as the game goes on. Because like if it's additive, then obviously what this means is that you're gonna get that huge burst of attack speed early game, but then the 40% attack speed doesn't really matter in the late game, where you have all these other attack speed items, and the 40% doesn't feel as impactful when you're using your abilities. But if it's multiplicative that I think it is, it means that your attack speed, you're gonna always be scaling from the Gunslinger passive. So you can get some really crazy attack speed consistently throughout the game with the Gunslinger passive. So I think this is something to keep an eye on, because I think this is gonna really like put Twinblast at a very like high attack speed kind of focus carry, which is really cool, because Paragon Twinblast is always known to be a high attack speed kind of carry. So it's very cool passive that kind of complements that kit to make sure that he always going to be having a high attack speed kind of oriented playstyle throughout the game. Another very interesting thing that you guys probably saw from the gameplay is that you're not shooting one projectile for every attack, you're actually shooting 2 projectiles for every auto attack, and that has massive implications because essentially what just means that for every 1 basic attack, it means you shoot twice, and when you doing a lot more on hit, so on hit kind of projectiles, you're hitting people a lot more often. That means that this makes Twinblast a very strong candidate for on hit builds, because they even said in the video like somewhere around here that they're like, hey, we recommend you building like on hit items. I think they said right here, yeah, Stonebreaker, because Stonebreaker is that like on hit kind of item where essentially the more times you can kind of like keep hitting people faster, the more often you can proc this. So this essentially means that although it's at 50% effectiveness, you're not going to get the full 100% like damage output when you're proccing it. The fact that you can proc it very, very often and very fast with just shooting twice per auto attack, so it makes certain like items like very, very easy, very fast to stack up. And so I think Twinblast, one of his core builds, I believe going into Tuesday, is going to be the on-hit build, because on-hit build has always been solid, I would say. It's just like I think only Sparrow is like the only one that can take true advantage of on-hit, because she has a lot innate attack speed in her kit, so she's able to like really kind of reach that threshold to really like attack fast and proc these very often. But Twinblast, not only he has the passive that increases attack speed, he also has a basic attack that shoots twice. So needless to say, he seems like he's gonna like be kind of crack on hit builds, just really like proccing these on hit item effects very, very fast that none other ADCs can match, from what I can tell. So definitely keep an eye out on Tuesday. This is probably the build I'll show off first. It's an on-hit build, because this is probably sounds very, very spicy, and it's definitely different than the traditional crit build that you kind of see slap on every ADC at the moment. Alright, so next ability is Vaporize. So essentially this ability, it's a new ability, I believe. Like Twinblast never have this kind of like projectile kind of skill shot kind of ability. And so like it's very, very cool what they did with this, because essentially I'll kind of let this play out because I have the video up. Essentially what this does is it's gonna be able to proc on hit effects. So again, this is like sorry, I'm trying to make sure I get the on hit effects right here. So it says right here. So this pushes him even more to the on hit. It's not just the fact that he's shooting twice. It's not the fact that he's attacking really fast. He actually has abilities that specifically mention it applies on hit effects. So this is just more and more reason just to play Twinblast on hit, because you have a kit that's literally just made for that. And so essentially it says to all targets hit, so it actually like it'll hit multiple targets. It won't stop at one enemy. It will also like hit past everyone else along in that line. And so the interesting thing that I'm not sure they actually show this in the video. I think they do it right here. Yeah, see right there? It means that his Q is actually a very strong wave clear tool. Like see right here, he's about to use it. Boom. All that is like disappear, like his whole wave disappear. You even see like the on hit apply right there. That's the Stonebreaker passive that's being proc right now, and it proc from his Q right there. So needs to say like his Q now it's gonna be insane for wave clear from what I can tell just from this one kind of clip alone. But the fact that it also apply on hit, so it's just like I think Twinblast, it's gonna have some insane wave clear, which not every ADC have. Like Kira is like a very strong ADC, but she has very bad kind of wave clear. She's very, very slow with taking down wave clear. Where something like Drongo and like Murder, they're known to have faster wave clear, but it seems like Twinblast is gonna be really up there for wave pushing kind of power, because essentially what that means is that it's gonna help you get better wave prio, because you can't really fight the dual heroes until you have like a wave advantage. So the fact that you have a kit that's very good and like pushing out the wave really fast, eliminating minions pretty quickly, and then you can stop the trade with your minions advantage, that's pretty big deal, I would say. And so another big thing to note is that this has magical power to scaling. So Twinblast is going to be one of those rare heroes that's going to have dual scaling. So essentially what this means is that like Crunch and Revenant, they both have physical and magical scaling. Albeit like Crunch and Revenant does scale better with physical power overall, but having magical power and scaling means that you have some more utility what you can do for like different kind of builds on Twinblast. And that's something what's going to go more into depth, because you got magical scaling right here and you got magical scaling on its family. So what you can maybe potentially do is a very kind of fun like magical build. We go like Typhoon, so you can dash once with Twinblast and you can dash again with Typhoon. You get prophecy, all that kind of items. So needless to say, like, it's very cool to see another character with more dual scaling, because it means that you can have more item variety and some spicy kind of stuff you can cook up with Twinblast. Alright, next up is Rocket Dash. So essentially, this is kind of like one of the Twinblast iconic abilities where he would dash in a certain direction. And the kind of cool thing about this ability is that whenever you damage enemy heroes with basic attack or abilities, his Rocket Dash cooldown is actually decreased by half a second. And it's actually a pretty big deal, because this means that Twinblast can be very elusive, especially in the mid to late game. Like there's a mobility, it's gonna be really great for the laning phase, because having mobility on AC is fantastic for trying to play safe or having better like survivability in lane. Like someone's trying to gank you, as long as you have your dash, you can dash away from CC, you can dash away to escape back to tower essentially. And in the mid to late game, what I imagine is that when you start to have all these attack speed items online, and because this doesn't seem like there's an internal cooldown. It's not like you can practice every second. It's just a decrease. So I assume that there's no internal cooldown on this. So this means that when you just like basically attack someone once, so like again, like every time base attack you fire 2 projectiles, that means that you get 1 second reduced on your passive. And so like when you have 300% attack speed, a fully built out on hit build, maybe even like going the item like Ash Reno to even reduce your cooldowns from that, you can probably be like dashing all over the place in this mid to late game fight. So this is something that I'm very intrigued that I really want to try to see if I can get a late game Twinblast game, because I think if you, as long as you keep landing all your abilities and all attacks and have a very high attack speed, I think you can literally just keep dashing, and that's gonna be huge, because someone like Kira, like she can dash away, but then you have that static kind of cooldown you have to sit with. Whereas Twinblast, he can dash away, and as long as he keep hitting people, he'll eventually be able to dash again, and that makes him very elusive. So as long as he's not CC or locked down pretty heavily, he can be able to really self-peel for himself very, very well, just because of the fact that he's be able to like really kind of keep reducing the cooldown on his E and keep creating space in these team fights. Alright, next up is Vortex Grenade. So essentially, this is one like Twinblast is like kind of old abilities back in Paragon, I believe. So like, let's see what. Okay, I think I missed it right here. But essentially, the interesting thing about this ability is that it has 2 charges. So it's not just 1 grenade you have. It's 2 grenades you can just pop all at once if you want to. And it's also very interesting to note about this grenade is that it's a lob shot. That means that there's technically no range, quote unquote, as you don't target the ground. You actually just trying to like chunk it in whatever direction you want. So it acts like just like a Howie E. Howie E has it kind of a range, I would say, to it, but you can change that range depending on how you're looking and how you like arc your lob shots. So it's very interesting that like it's very good too that it's kind of like just a lob shot. It's not like I gotta target then confirm. I just like pop it, right? And so it's just very interesting. Like you can probably get some wall bane. So let's say someone's behind. I imagine this is gonna drop like it's gonna wall bane. You can bounce it off wall. So let's say like you can bounce it off like the wall over right here, and then you can kind of get like a sneaky kind of corner shot and kind of hit people behind cover if you use it right. So very kind of niche, kind of very cool stuff you can do with that. But the big thing is that because it has 2 charges, this means that this grenade is probably going to be your best way to proc your passive, because the big thing about your passive is I think there's going to be a lot of skill expression in this passive where you have to like keep your passive up like as much as you can by using your abilities correctly, because like you only empower your 2 next basic attacks and then you go back to normal attack speed, right? But the favorite kind of cool thing with this kit is that essentially what you can do is, with especially for this grenade, you can use your grenade, get the empower 2 autos, and once you 2 empower autos are done, you then chuck another grenade and get the 2 auto attacks next, and then you go like use your Q and you just rinse and repeat, right? And so I think there's gonna be a lot of skill pressure and Twinblast in the sense that you have to like like be very mindful of how you use your abilities along with your basic attacks. It's not like a KO jungle where you just press the ability and be done with it. You have to actually be very mindful of how you're using your abilities and the timing, right? You can't just like lob 2 grenades, and you can't do like grenade kill, because that's a waste, because you're missing 2 procs you could be getting on your Gunslinger passive. What should be do is 2 autos, like you grenade, 2 autos, grenade, 2 autos, Vaporize, 2 autos, and then dash, 2 autos. Like, you see what I mean? Like, if you can do that, I think you're gonna have some insane attack speed you can have throughout those fights. So it's gonna be very, very important for you guys to know is that to make the most use out of your passive, you have to know how to use your abilities to be able to like go with your basic attacks essentially. And I think the easiest way to do that is to play one of your Vortex grenades. It's gonna be like it's gonna be a good way to do damage, slow people, but also it's gonna be a quick way to get your empower autos back. And finally, we have Ventilate. This is like the old, I won't say the OG. There was 2 ultimates that Twinblast had. One was like the what do you call it, the legacy or Goa kind of ultimate, was just kind of like AoE kind of splash damage. And this one is like it's the old like machine gun kind of ultimate back in like Monolith, like the second rework one. And a lot of people seem not to like that. I think some people were even saying that they hoped that wasn't going to be coming back. But I think with Predecessor, this auto actually works really, really good, because I think the big thing is that back in Paragon, there weren't really great items, in the sense that items will just sort of like statistics or just give you random kind of effects that doesn't really necessarily always synergize with your kit. But in Predecessor, we have a variety of items that can really like work really well with certain abilities, because essentially what this is it specifies 25 bullets over 3 seconds. So that means that this, for every like bullet, obviously this is a different small tick. You kind of see right here where he literally machine gunned this Mario down to almost like 0 HP. Like that was like, how many items was that? Yeah, that was just 3 items. And granted, this Twinblast in the video was very, very fair, but it seems like it's doing a lot of damage. So it's not just a finisher kind of ultimate what people want away from you, use your ultimate finish off. It seems like it can be a very strong burst or like engage kind of tool. And I'm imagining that certain items can actually like be used with this ultimate to kind of build some certain interactions. Like for example, Infernum is known to like pretty much like work really good on like Greystone, for example, because Greystone, he gets multiple procs on his Q, so he actually works amazingly well with Infernum because of how fast and how consistently he can stack Infernum. And I imagine with Twinblast, for not only has very high innate attack speed and on-hit effects, but also like I imagine you're gonna be able to proc like Infernum like multiple times in your ultimate. Granted, it doesn't stack, but during that whole time when you're ulting, that person is pretty much being burned alive by Infernum the whole time. So that's a lot of damage being added onto Ventilate right there. And I imagine other items like Famgusher, Deathstalker, like those kind of items that works great on abilities, like any assassin-y kind of items that empower your ability to do more damage, I think it's actually gonna work really well for Twinblast. We're able to like really take advantage of Ventilate, because you have 500% bonus physical power scaling, so like 700 base damage late game, 500% bonus physical power, and it's a long range ability. So needless to say, his ultimate seems to be pretty nasty right now, and what they did with Predators, because you can, because like the big thing of what makes this ultimate like very powerful too is the fact that you add the ADC, you can contribute to team fights while being a far, which is a big deal, because most ADCs in the game, they have to get in base attack range to start contributing to team fights. The only problem with that is that when you're in base attack range with someone, that means you're in range of a lot of CC, a lot of roots, a lot of like engage kind of heroes that can get on top of you, right? So sometimes it can be hard to get into the thick of the fray when you you know the steal, the crunch, or the fame out collide didn't use the CC or movement abilities, so you can't really get in range to attack them until they commit that, and then you can start to go ham, right? But the thing with his like family ability means that like you can play a little bit more further back, let your tanks, your frontliners kind of create space, trying to get picks. And soon as someone like, let's say the Gideon got CC locked down by the Richter, and even though you're not in our attack range, you can use your ultimate to essentially like start to kind of like bust that person down, and you can keep walking towards them, and by the time your ultimate is done, that's when you can stop the auto attack, use your other abilities and all that really great stuff. So Twinblast, it's kind of interesting. His whole kit overall, he has a very aggressive in your face kind of kit, but from what I can tell from his abilities, he has a lot of abilities that can actually hit people further away from his base attack. Like the grenade, you can chuck it pretty far with the way you can lob it. His Q, I assume it's at least his base attack or even longer, and of course his Ventilate is a very long range. So Twinblast has some insane range, surprisingly, with this kit, so it means that he's going to be able to space teamfights very, very well. Because if you can space your teamfights very well, you can start to burst down people from range, and then when people are trying to commit your mobility to try to close that distance, you can just create distance again with the E. So let me just say, I think Twinblast is going to be someone that's going to be really hard to lock down if that person can really play his range abilities and his mobility very, very well. So that's kind of like my overall gist on kind of like Twinblast's kit. And so what we're going to be doing on this section is one of the kind of theorycraft some kind of builds that I think is going to work amazingly well on Twinblast. So obviously, I think the build that you can't go wrong with on Tuesday is going to be the on-hit build. And this is a build that's been around for a while. It's just like I said, only like someone like Sparrow could really take great advantage of it. You see Stronger sometimes run it, but he's obviously more better with crit. Like the thing is, most ACs are better with crit at the current mode, like Kira, Stronger, Murdoch, Revenant. So it's very cool to see we have an ADC, a new ADC that can actually specifically meant to do on-hit kind of build. So I think going to Tuesday, one of his best builds is probably have to be on hit, and that's something we're gonna definitely showcase when he releases. But for on hit build, essentially what's gonna be is it's just gonna be sorry, let me try and figure out the quest. Quest is gonna be just a traditional kind of quest. You either go liberate if you worry about CC, or a fish way, because the fish way is actually the best quest if you're trying to do on hit build. So I imagine like I think he was running the fish way in the video. So I imagine fish way it's gonna be his 2-go quest, as long as there's not too much CC. If there's like 3-4 enemy healers with hard CC, you probably want to go Liberator to make sure you can cleanse that. But other than that, fish way is gonna really help you kind of down people, and you're gonna be able to practice on head kind of effects very, very effectively well. Or you can do something even interesting and go Pacify, so you have a dash on your E and you can get another dash on your Pacify. So you can be very kind of elusive if you want with Pacify. So it's really kind of up to you on your playstyle, but I think if it's is probably his 2-go quest. But for his on his build, there's some different variations you can do with that. I sometimes like to go Kingsbane first because it's kind of all in good one item where I can get Army Fam. So getting the early sustain is going to be very nice to kind of stay in lane a little bit longer and be able to kind of sustain my way throughout the game. So you go Kingsbane. And of course, I think Stonebreaker is that item you always have to go second for on-hit builds. It's like the enabler for on-hit builds. So this is kind of like a 3-core kind of item. Third item, this is where you can kind of just go Sky Split. Sky Split is just always known to be very, very strong for on-hit. So this is kind of like, once you get like Sky Split online, if it's anything like the on-hit builds for when you build it online, this is where you're going to start to really spike your damage. Because the big thing about on-hit builds that people don't realize is that it's sort of a more scaling build. Well, what makes this build really potent is when you can proc multiple on-hit effects at once. So when you only have 2 on-hit items, you're not going to really feel that oomph of damage. Like I'm going something like Lightning Hawk. Lightning Hawk is a bigger oomph of damage early game. So you feel your damage spike harder when you go like the crit build. But like in the long run, if you get to the mid to late game and start to get all these on-hit items, that's when your damage start to spike really, really hard right here. So it's kind of be like his 3-core item for the on-hit build on Tuesday. And of course, those last 2 items are going to be more on-hit items, but it's also going to be flexible on how you're facing. If you're facing against a like healing, then definitely Tame Wild. You probably have to build that third if it gets like a non-badge or Rampix, etc. And then last item, it's kind of up to you. So you can do Bonesaw. Like Bonesaw is actually not that bad for on-hit ADCs because you get that 600 HP, which is a valuable stat for giving that ADC is a bit more like survivability, but also it has a very great on-hit kind of effect, right? So you can't go wrong with Bone Star. Other on-hit items you can probably go. It's like Absolution is like there's a lot of CC. You can get this Absolution proc. Other than that, maybe you can go Augmentation since Twinblast is a very ability heavy kind of ADC. You can probably be able to get like constant like true damage, strikes on your passive. Also, when you use the ultimate, you can gain attack speed, so it can be kind of funny if you're trying to create space as you're moving away or chasing down people with your ultimate. So that's one build out of the way. We have actually two more because I think Twinblast has some very fun and very effective build you can do. The next build is essentially a more like magical based build because he has magical scaling on his Q and his ultimate. So what we can do is this is probably gonna be more of an off meta fun build, but it's gonna be a build that will actually work on Twinblast now that no other ADCs can actually take advantage of, and that is we're gonna be doing Typhoon, if I can find it, because like Typhoon pretty much like gives you that extra dash when you hit people a certain amount of times. And the thing is like it says basic attacks, right? So usually you have to attack people 4 times, then you get the movement speed. But with Twinblast's double shot like unique interaction, essentially what this means is that you shoot twice, so it's like da 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 da, and then you get, and if it works out as I think it should work, it means that you'll be able to get Cyclone active with just 2 auto attacks, which is actually quite insane because that means that if someone gets on top of you, you just shoot them twice and you can dash away, right? And whereas other like ADCs or whatever other builds, you have to shoot someone 4 times and dash away, and that extra time with the 2 extra attacks can cost you life. But so the fact that you can get the Typhoon active really fast can be really kind of actually very good for Twinblast, because like the dash just makes him superly kind of elusive. Like you can dash away with E, but you can also dash away with the Typhoon active because it's on the lower cooldown, so that means you can actually use it a lot more proactive in those skirmishes and team fights. And of course, since we're doing the on-hit kind of magical build, that means that we have to go Prophecy first. So that means that all the magical power building gets converted to on-hit. And it's very cool because Twinblast is the on-hit ADC, and this is the on-hit item. So there's some synergy right there. Like this is actually really kind of cool right here. And so after Prophecy, we're gonna go Magnify, so there's just more attack speed, but also this way you could decrease the magical armor, so that means that your auto attacks will hit harder, and you get more stacking magical power whenever you're auto attacking people. So you can stack this really fast with Twinblast. And what kind of makes this build very spicy in my head is going like Elephas, because I think for Twinblast, it's because like the big thing is you have to, for range attack people, you have to hit someone 8 times before you proc your Elephas. But for Twinblast, he cuts that right in half, and so essentially that means that you can attack someone 4 times and be able to root them essentially. So this is going to be a really fun build that I want to definitely try out for a video. This can be like a cool kind of build. And so so last 2 items, it's probably just going to be a flex. So just probably like Oathkeeper, maybe Waste Leggings, maybe Life Bar. I know this, but I think just like this is kind of like the cold build if you want to do a magical kind of Twinblast for like the mid lane, or even ADC if you want to be a little spicy. And lastly but not least, the third kind of theorycraft build I'm going to showcase really quick is going to be his assassin build, because I was just talking about how his ultimate, with how much damage it seems to be doing, I think if you can go items that can like make his ability ultimate hit even harder, you're going to be able to one-shot people, because like he's almost one-shot this Milio, and he's not even going like items that can actually do that, right? And so like if for items to actually do one-shot people, like let's say instead of this build we go this build that I'm about to show you, then I think he can actually just one-shot this build with his ultimate, and that is for his quest. It's gonna be Assassin's Quest because get that physical penetration, but also you're gonna get all this because when you use your all this, you gain 10 increased physical power. So this really incentivizes being able to burst down people even harder. So like what you can do is you can proc your all this, you get 10% attack physical power and movement speed to go along with that. So it makes Twinblast even more mobile. So you proc this and then you use your ultimate, and you're gonna get the 10% increased kind of physical power kind of benefit from that. So this is gonna be a really spicy item to go on him, and I think his first item is essentially gonna be in fun. This is gonna essentially be the same build that I showcased for you guys for Sparrow and Revenant, where we go like the more Inferno item first, because Inferno is a really strong item. Like even though it technically got nerfed again with kind of like down here. It's not like a big nerf, it's just 5% less base damage and 10% less scaling. That's not, it's a nerf, but it doesn't like make this item useless, right? It's gonna be still very, very strong. So you go from them, essentially what this means is that that's when your damage can start to spike really early because, again, this is based on basic attacks and abilities, and with Twinblast attacking really fast and just attacking, doing a lot more on hit stuff, that means that he can proc this really fast on just his base kit alone. And then with his ultimate, I'm imagining it's also going to proc this consistently throughout the whole time, so you're going to have some really spicy a bit like damage you can give for this one item alone. Second item, I think you probably do something like Vanquisher, so this is where you can start to execute people. So like when you ult someone, when you get their phone and pause, you'll be able to like reliably execute people, finish off people with this ability, and then like after that you go like Static Stalker. So essentially this is almost like pretty much a Revenant build that I kind of showcase to you guys, where you go these abilities, these items, and these items essentially makes your abilities hit really hard and be able to finish people off reliably. So that's a really kind of cool thing, is that like these kind of theorycraft builds I'm showing you guys, it's nothing like new. It's always been existing in the game, but because of Twinblast's kit overall, with all these different on-head like interactions and magical scaling, he actually has some really cool build variety, which is really cool because Greystone, what makes him really fun on release is that he's able to build just anything because he has a kit that works with all these items very well. So it's really awesome to see that. I think Twinblast is going to have a large variety of builds you can actually run on him, because he just seems to work really good with all these different items. So I'm very excited to get my hands on him Tuesday. I'm not ADC main by all means. I'm the opposite of an ADC main, but I'm pretty excited still to try him out, just because I think theorycrafting all these different builds and try them out, it's going to be really fun and really spicy. But anyways, that's about it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this was able to really kind of give you guys some good insights, my thoughts on Twinblast's kit. And hopefully you guys learn some more stuff, so you guys are better prepared and better in the spot to like dominate come Tuesday, knowing these different items and how exactly it works. But anyways, if you have any other suggestions, if you have any heroes builds, like I'm definitely gonna be testing him a whole lot on Tuesday. Like these 3 different builds I showcase you guys, essentially that's the 3 builds I'm gonna be trying to run with him the next 3 days, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. But if there's any other items or any other builds that I haven't really covered that you guys think is gonna be spicy to try out, definitely let me know down in the comments. But as always, thank you for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.